Not in my lifetime, wasn't in my right mind. Somebody with a cool neck, you was so clothing. Not in my lifetime, wasn't in my right mind. Somebody with a cool neck, you was so clothing. Not in my lifetime, wasn't in my right mind. Somebody with a cool neck, you was so clothing. Not in my lifetime, wasn't in my right mind.
Mic check, mic check. What's happening, old timer?
Hey there, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. Hold on. Let me get my
Okay, this is not
now.
a good angle for me, but I'm trying to get it together. Oh,
What's
you
happening,
got me
big
on a
brother?
Sunday morning, right after the Mike Tyson fight, or the morning after. Still trying to get
Oh
myself
man.
together.
I was watching. Shit, I'm all the way on the other side of the world, man. So I'm feeling that the effects of it too. It's kind of late in the evening for me, man. But hey man, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out to talk to me or whatever. I hit you up a little bit earlier about joining my show or whatever. Show is called Frequently Asked Questions, and the idea of it is to talk to people who have been in a business of some sort and been successful in that business. And I know that you, in particular, were in DC for a while, and you had your food truck and everything. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions about that, and we can talk to the audience and the people out there in the world who have ideas about doing something like a food truck or even a restaurant or something like that, and kind of get some particulars from you because you're somebody that I know personally who has been in that line of work or in that business and everything. And I believe the last time I talked to you, at least on the chat or whatever, you said you're still in it, so we can kind of dive into that a little bit. Uh,
Sure.
as we go through it. All right. So first question is what was it that made you decide to do because it's clear that you're into food and everything like that. So what was it that made you decide to open a food truck versus a restaurant?
Okay, so the whole appeal to that, well, actually, let me give a little quick background.
Hmm.
Um, I have a couple of buddies that I went to school with. We all attended Howard University, and one of them
HBCU.
he still is a caterer, and he's been in the business for 20 years. So I started helping him with the business.
Hmm.
Then afterwards, that gave me more of an insight into the food game and the curiosity to want to do it on a more commercial basis. Then afterwards, another mutual friend who is from Philadelphia. Well, they're both from Philadelphia. The other
Hmm.
friend came to me with an idea for launching a food truck, which I already had on my own.
Right.
So I asked him what he wanted to do, and he was talking about Philly cheesesteaks. So
Hmm.
with that, it was something that was a product that wasn't in the market. So the key thing, number one, it wasn't in this. It wasn't. There wasn't a food truck out there doing that. He had a good scheme for it, and he had an idea that was unique to the area. And what makes a cheesesteak is the bread. And
Right.
we had gotten a contract with the number one roll company in Philadelphia, the Amoroso Roll Company, and we would truck
Hmm.
the bread down fresh every day. So that
Nice.
really, and the whole idea was that the plan was to look at doing it with the idea of a retail location, but it's really, you really want to get to the lunchtime crowd, which was the biggest crowd. So we found that it was better to bring the food to them than to tell them to come out to us. But that was always the plan, was to go out and have a retail location eventually. But it just got to a point where it was nothing wrong with it at the time, but it was just trying to find a place where you could get good low overhead to make it
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Okay, so it didn't really start because when I met you, you had the truck down in DC, so it didn't start in DC. It just
No, it's always been in DC. Well, you got to understand, when we talk about DC, we say the DMV, so that
yeah,
consists of the District, Maryland, and Virginia.
right.
But we look at downtown DC as the area because that's the commercial heartbeat of the center. It's about a stone's throw from the White House, and you pretty much can get to all the museums and everything. So pretty much people will live either in Maryland or Virginia, or in my case, in DC, but they actually they'll bring the truck down to what we call our food areas, or I call them the fishing holes, the best hot spots where you can actually catch people to try and sell your wares. And the lunchtime crowd and the tourists that would be around, well, that's pre-COVID, the tourists that would be at the museums, that was the
Yeah.
best crowd to catch.
Right. Okay. So, I think that like when I talked to you before, and again, like I'm just trying to remember a lot about like our previous conversations and stuff like that. You were saying like you got to be up there like early in the morning, saying when you get that truck, to get that good spot, what I mean, like right there, in that area, when the folks start to hit that lunchtime, you want your truck to be in a prime spot where like, so it's all about timing and everything too. It's not just like having a truck or whatever and saying like I'll get there when I get there, because if you don't get that spot, like you down the road somewhere where like people ain't be able to get to you and stuff like that, right?
That's it. You can make all the food you want, but if you ain't got a place to sell it, you're going to be in a world of trouble. And in this area, what there was, so what typically happens with food trucks is that the businesses, the retail businesses, the restaurateurs,
Mm-hmm.
they don't like food trucks because, of course, obviously it takes away from their business. So whenever you get your food truck license, they make it almost so hard for you to compete with them, because what they did was in DC they had zones where you were allowed to set up to shop your food. So if you either had to go to those zones and it was a lottery for you to be able to get access, otherwise we developed, like I said, what we call fishing holes. So like the place that I met you the time when you came to grab some of our
Yeah.
food, that is one of the prime places. And the deal was, it was first come, first serve. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much my partner would get up, he would go with the truck, get it fueled up and get it going. And in the meantime, I would start planning where we were going to go. And I would be what we call like the runner, where I'd actually have to bring my car and hold the spot until he
Mm-hmm.
could get there with the truck and set up. Otherwise, and it was like, we were talking about, there were about 8 to 10 spots in that location, and there was usually at least 25 to 30 trucks that were fighting to get those spots. So if you slow, you blow, and you don't get to sell your food. Real simple.
That's what's up. So, like, has DC or the DMV been like the only place that you guys have operated or whatever, or have you moved it around, or is it like a lot of other places? Like, let's say you got like a Mack truck or something like that, and you're hauling, your goods up and down 95 or these other big international highways. Is it like regulated to like certain areas of where your license and everything is to sell your food?
Absolutely. Even in the district, there's different licensure for DC versus Maryland versus Virginia. So
Okay.
if you want to go to shop your truck, if you want to shop your wares anywhere else, you have to make sure you have the licensure, or you have to get a special vendor's license. So
Mm-hmm.
we have competed in a couple of cheesesteak competitions in Pennsylvania when we've gone up there, and we've taken it further south. But either way, for each place, you have to know what the rules are for it. You have to also make sure that you've got the licensure set up, unless it's a special event.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Um, so like you didn't really touch on it, but I want to bring it back up or whatever. Like, is there? Well, I know that there is or whatever, but like, at any point in time, was there an actual idea for a restaurant, like a stationary, like just a restaurant, or has it always been like a food truck?
No, there wasn't. It was an idea for a restaurant, and there still is a vision for a restaurant. What it was at the time that we were, because we were going strong for about 5 years, and at the time my partner had gotten married, and he looked at wanting to do something different. He wanted to go out to Las Vegas, and he was looking at doing a franchise out that way. And also
Mm,
at the time, I was also dealing with my father and my sister were ill. So I was back and forth between here and New York, and it just got to be too much. So we put it on the shelf. but we started scouting out locations because we've had such high demand and requests that we were looking to see where would make the most sense. Here in DC, what we have noticed, I've had a couple of other people who we were working, or I won't say we were competing, but we were collaborating with their trucks at the same time. One guy actually opened a place that is actually walking distance from my house, and it's been doing very well. And then another one is looking at it. He took it to an area that's a real popular area, H Street, and he's done his. So what we were doing was we want to launch a second truck
Mm-hmm.
and use that in the outlying areas, and then from that area, that will give us a space that we can look at using for that retail setup.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah. I mean, well, with shit with COVID right now, like you said, like things that have really like taken a nosedive, especially like for that type of environment and stuff like that, restaurants and um, I'm not even certain about the food truck industry or whatever. Maybe you can speak on that a little bit more, but like, yeah. So the expenses, like, did that come into play when it came to doing a food truck versus a restaurant? For the people out there that says like, I'm really into food. I really want to, sell my whatever it is, like hot dogs or like you guys got cheesesteaks and stuff like that, or tacos or whatever. So did that come into play as much, you know what I mean, with the cost effectiveness of doing a restaurant versus a food truck?
I think that DC is a pretty unique animal. It's really not that large, but there
Hmm.
are a lot of outlying areas. And people, I'm just to be honest with you, people get lazy. They
Yeah.
don't want to travel that far. So if you make it too hard for them, you're going to miss them. Plus, again, pre-COVID, we had a thriving, bustling downtown community where
Hmm.
everybody was coming down and people were always looking for options and tired of eating at the same place.
Right.
So it made more sense to do it like that. But then the hard, because you're not having to pay that everyday rent or that
Hmm.
monthly rent,
Yeah,
which
there you
is
go.
can be a big nut if you're not pulling in enough profits. Plus, you're trying to get people, again, they may like your product, but they may not like your location. So
There
if
you
you're
go.
trying to get them to come out, then people don't want to come to that area, or if you're getting people and they work in the city, but they're only in that area on weekends, you're not going to get them out as much.
Mhm. I got you. I
And
got you.
I think, well, let me jump back to something you talked about when you were talking about with the food trucks and with COVID.
Okay.
So these days, what's really been happening is that the way COVID has affected food trucks, at least in this area, is that people have had, the owners have had to pivot and try to find new ways to market their wares. One of the more popular things that people are doing is you're going out into communities. So we'll find residential areas where people now are working remotely from home, and a lot of times they're tired of their own cooking, or maybe they're tired of their local restaurants. And what we were doing, especially when the weather is warm, was setting up like maybe a Thursday or Friday evening meeting at a cul-de-sac. And
Mhm.
we'll just actually, people will come and they'll actually reach out to us and just say, hey, look, we'd love to get you to come to our area. You set up a date and a time, you show up over there. And then now what we're doing is we're doing contactless menus, and they can actually just order online and just schedule a time to come pick it up without even having to wait. So that alleviates it. And then what we saw in a couple of places that was really beautiful is people just, when the weather's nice, they would just sit out, families 6 feet apart, just on a blanket, just kind of enjoying, still conversing with each other, but stay doing it in a socially distanced manner.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Yeah, yeah, COVID has like really, really changed everything, the way that, we saw the world, well, pre-existent of the COVID thing, just back in 2019 and everything. And I think I came over to you, what was that, 2014 or 15, I want to say, um, and met you over at the truck or whatever down in downtown DC or whatever. let's talk about the menu real quick. So if and when you actually, well, if and when actually you do decide to do a new truck or even a steadfast location or whatever, do you plan to expand the menu, or is it just something that's like it's just you're gonna stay with the Philly cheesesteaks or whatever? Because they were pretty damn good, man.
Well, I guess I'll use this as a juncture. I'll say this. When we're talking with my partner again, we found that we did some special events where we did fish and chicken as well. And,
Mhm.
there's a certain segment of our community that loves some chicken and fish. I'm going to keep it
Hey.
like that. So the whole thing is you want to expand, but you don't want to you don't want to go stray too far from the game
Hmm.
because that first
What
off,
got
it
you
means that
there?
you have
Yeah.
different equipment. You also have to look at a whole lot more supplies that you have to have, and you have to be able to keep all of that together. So with that, we talked about a couple of other items that we wanted to add to the menu that were more frequently requested.
That's
And
what's
also, I
up.
will say this: in addition to my own truck, oh,
Excuse me. My goodness.
yeah, no
Good.
problem, no problem. In addition to my own truck, I also do social media for another partner's business who went to Howard with me as well, and he's selling roasted corn. And he just launched his food truck, but he started in reverse. He started with a location in one of the more popular malls here in the area, Pentagon City Mall. So I'm getting to see it from reverse because as I handle his social media, it gives me a different outlook from the way we started. Plus, it also gives me some notes to look at when we get ready to do our thing as well.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, yeah, this has definitely been some good information or whatever. And so what I want to do now is like ask you to talk to the people out there and like give them some advice on starting the food truck, if they're like a culinary person versus like a restaurant or whatever, like a steady location, and just things that you have to know, like requirements that uh, the truck has to have or whatever. I think you said in DC is it can be no longer than I forget the length of the truck and all of that other good stuff. So it is requirements to actually having these things set up and everything. It's not just like you can just go and say I'm going to buy that truck right there and turn it into like a profit or whatever. Like you have to have it has to meet certain city requirements and everything, right?
Absolutely. The In DC, for example, it can be no longer than 21 feet. So you could what a lot of vendors were doing was they were getting old UPS trucks, and they would have to cut them down to size to meet with the DC requirements because of parking. You can't park larger vehicles in the standard spaces, so that's why the 21 feet was in there. Also, obviously, they're very much cracking down on fire suppression units because unfortunately, we've heard of a couple of food trucks nationally that have blown up, and
Oh man.
they did not have the proper code fire suppression equipment on there. So any new truck that rolls out now, they want to make sure you have that. Also, when you're looking at if you're trying to get into the business, it's great. You can be culinary trained, you can have a vision, but you got to, as we did, you have to study the market. Is there a market for your product? You have to look at where you're going to be bringing it to. You're going to look at the costs. What is going to be the median cost that you want to look at? You have to also, even with that equipment, if you let's say you're talking about that truck. For example, I had somebody just talk to me about this the other day. They asked me, "Well, how much did you spend on your truck?" Well, we went with a used truck, and it was 30. It was 30,000 that we looked at spending. But that's 30,000 for the truck. Then you have to look at like I said, we had to have the truck cut down. Then you have to look at the equipment, the propane that powers the truck. That propane, the larger the tank that you have on that truck, the longer you can run for when you're running your generator. and that's going to determine how long you can stay open and sell. Or if you're in the middle, we actually had one event where we were working and things were going lovely. Nobody checked the kerosene. All of a sudden, I mean the propane. Next thing you know, we were lights out and dead when we were still killing the game and people were still wanting the food. So we did do a revision where we had to upgrade the equipment and we increased the size of that tank. And then now people are putting lights. They're getting ornate. I saw, actually, I'm from New York. I went back home
Don't remind me.
pre-COVID, and there's a young lady in Harlem who is doing a soul food truck. And the trucks they have up there, they don't actually have engines. They just drive them up on a hitch, and then they kind of leave it in the area. So it was kind of interesting
like a
to
trailer.
see the differences with that. Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
okay.
But it's more upright than longer. Like when you go further south, they make longer trailers, where up north, again, size is an issue. So they make them taller and higher, but also to get your attention.
I got you. Yeah, like I think when I talked to you that time, especially when I came to DC or whatever, that was my idea for opening the truck or whatever. I was like, yo, I'm thinking about doing this or whatever. And this is like, of course, I'm still overseas and everything now, but this is like when I had the ambitions and the ideas and thoughts of moving back to the States. And like, that was my thoughts as far as like the DC area was opening up like a soul food truck or whatever, because I had walked the line from that area that you guys were in for that day or whatever. And I didn't really see that type of food out there and stuff like that. So I thought that would have been something. And again, that was just like the 1 or 2 days that I came out there or whatever. So I don't really know if like somebody else was selling that or if there was like a market for it for DC, me being from the South and stuff like that. But that was my idea or whatever and thoughts that I could have done. But I mean, I ended up leaving the state shortly after that. So like I never really got to, manifest that or whatever. But um yeah, food, soul food is, being from the South, that's like one of the things we love and everything. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
But
think a good soul food restaurant is always going to be a popular thing. It's just a matter of we're the place where we met you. That was the downtown office area. And so
yeah.
you have a lot of eclectic taste. But surprisingly, the things that whenever I would see a truck that would come out and I'm like, that truck's not going to do anything. Whatever I saw, there was always a market for it. So.
Mm,
It's just a matter of knowing it, growing it, and then after you grow it, and getting word of mouth, and then people will find you.
right. Um so we're doing all of that and everything. Let's talk about the personnel that work for you guys or whatever. Like how did you guys go about finding, your employees and everything? Because I can believe that I can't believe that that's not an easy thing to do or whatever, what I'm saying, with finding a food truck, because you guys are always moving, what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you're the boss and everything, like, yeah, that's yours and everything, but just finding like people to, buy into it and be employed and understand like how they're going to be paid and stuff like that. Like,
I will say that that is that motto of good help is hard to come by. It,
yeah.
it it really rings true, because what usually happens is typically people start out gung ho and they're really excited about working. Then afterwards, it's a matter of getting the right work ethic in with them, or
Mm,
them seeing the vision. Because, and in some cases, we've had some people who were basically kind of checking it out because
mm,
they wanted to do their own thing.
yeah.
So they were trying to kind of pimp your ideas on your watch, but they weren't
Right.
putting the same level of work in to get things ready to go for what they were trying to do. And then also there'd be a thing where, again, at that time you're dealing with a lot of cash. So they're looking at you and they're saying, "Oh, well, we made all these sales, so this person is G'ing off." but they don't understand all the stuff you have to do on the back end, all
Mhm.
this, the money you have to pay for your expenses, your inventory, the things you have to do. And then there are days where it's lean and mean. I mean, here in DC, like right now, I'm talking to you. It's what is it? It's 9:49, and it's a brisk day of. It started off at 30 degrees.
Oh
Now
shit.
in DC, yeah, 30 degrees with that. So, and we're still not in the thick of the winter.
Yeah.
Now, the time I met you, that following January, we had a month where it was below freezing temperatures in DC, which isn't common, but we couldn't go out for the entire month of January. Meanwhile, that staff, they still want to be paid. And
Right.
they're still asking and stuff. I'm like, bruh, we're not selling any food. How can I pay you? I mean, I might be able to give you a little something to help you get through, but I'm not making any money. Or if we did go out, you sold just enough basically to pay their wages, and that was it.
Mhm.
So they don't see the ups and downs of what you have going on. And
Right.
then there are the people who just don't have the work ethic where, one day they're showing up, another day they're calling out. I've heard when we were above 100 degrees, it's too hot to work. When we're below a certain temperature, it's too cold to work. If we work a special event, then they might not show up the next day, or they're like, "Can I get an advance on my pay?" And then they still don't show up. Or there's a person who let's just say he enjoyed the herbal essences and he decided to bring that with him to work. And I'm like, bruh, you can't work. You cannot operate our equipment. You is high. I can't work with you today. Did we not just talk about a fire suppression unit? You will mess around and hit the wrong thing and you will blow us sky high. So, like I said, good
Oh
health is
shit.
truly hard to come by.
Oh, man, that's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, man.
So I
So
tell people the very first thing. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have
go
to
ahead, go
say
ahead, go
one more
ahead.
point.
Go ahead, go ahead,
One
go
of
ahead.
the things, whenever I talk to somebody and they say they've got a businessman, they've got this in mind, I'm like, okay, you're going to need at least 2 to 3 good staff. Who do
Mhm.
you know that you can trust? And if you can trust them, how reliable are they and how reliable will they remain? Because more often than not, in the food truck game, if people are available to do this, that usually means they're not really employed somewhere else. And sometimes there's a reason why they ain't employed somewhere else. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, no, man, like that's good information or whatever. Because like I said, like this is like, this show that I'm doing right now is to put information out to people who have that ambition and everything to go out on their own and do stuff. So I want people who like they don't know where to go to ask these questions and everything to come to view whatever it is that I'm talking about and everything. I mean, I've uh I've done guys, the photographers and everything like that. I got one of my friends who's a mortgage loan processor and everything like that. So for first time home buyers and all that other stuff. And the episodes haven't really hit the channel yet or whatever, and I'm still trying to edit everything. So I'm just trying to go down the line. But and I'm saying that as I'm talking to you now, but I'm just saying, like, as the stuff comes out and people start to see it and start to take it for what it's worth, with all the information that's provided, hopefully they'll take heed to it and everything like that, and it'll provide them the answers or whatever it is that they're looking for before they go out and do whatever it is that they feel like they can do, what I'm saying, without asking the right questions or just don't know who to ask. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes there's a person that might mislead them and say, yeah, like that's a good idea. You should go ahead and do that and stuff like that or whatever. And just give them the wrong bit of encouragement when there are obstacles that they don't see and that aren't talked about before going out there, and then that person goes out there and they hire the wrong people and they fall flat on their face or whatever, they get left by themselves with a truck, um and they just don't, they can't do everything by themselves and stuff like that, or they go to the wrong location or they sell the wrong food or whatever, that people don't aren't that people is not looking for and stuff like that. So like that's why I'm asking these questions now or whatever. And we're trying to talk to a particular audience and everything, excuse me, just to make sure that we can get that information out there. And I'm hoping that it reaches these people, between you and I that we know, and hopefully, somebody else will see this, and maybe it's not them that's, looking to start a business, but maybe they know somebody else who is, and they tag them and say, hey, you should check this out before you go, do your food truck or your restaurant and stuff like that. So that's what frequently asked questions is all about right now, is just like making sure that the information gets out to the people, so that they can make a more calculated decision than they probably already thought that they were doing and stuff like that. So, like I said, talking to you, a person who's been there and done that, I think the last time I talked to you, you said also that you got out of, since you're not doing the truck now, you're doing something else, correct?
Yes, yes. Like I said, I actually, after what we did was we sold our truck.
Mm.
We had 5 years in the game, and we got an offer which was above, which was at a nice little price. We made some money on the deal, and it gave us an opportunity to pivot. Like I said, my partner wanted to head to Vegas. I was dealing with taking care of family, and after that, I was another person who was running a truck. She asked me to do her social media. So that
Mm.
led to me handling her media for her truck. And then that led to several other clients. And so now I've been doing social media management in addition to still looking at the food game. I still do some catering from time to time,
All right.
but it just gave me an opportunity to apply the skills and the things that I learned from our truck to other businesses. So right now I've got two small independent music labels that use me for social media. I have a daycare center here in the area that is expanding their locations. I've got one more person, like I said, another college buddy who has his food truck and his store kiosk. And now I've got a couple of other clients that are coming on board. So it's becoming a business unto itself. So
There you
it's
go.
just a matter of applying the same concepts with food to reaching out to essential services that people need. So that's been keeping me busy, but that food bug is still in me. So
I see you got a
and I
little
will
weight on you there now. You got a little.
yeah, well I'm trying, that's what I'm trying to get this angle up. But yeah, it also, like I say, you caught me right off of Thanksgiving, man. I'm
Hey,
coming right off.
look, bro,
I had just hit the scale.
bro, today's Sunday, Thanksgiving was Thursday. You ain't gained all that weight in 3 days, bro.
Leftovers, bro. But yeah, no. But that was the other part about the truck. It was, I mean, like I said, you're working in adverse conditions. You're working 15-hour days. That was the toughest job that I ever loved because it kept me. That was when I was at the only other job I think that had me as tight and running as hard with it was when at one point I worked for UPS, and that kept me going. But
Yeah, but that
it
wasn't
was,
your own business, though.
yeah, and that was the whole thing. You were always looking at that and going for it. And I will tell you this, although it's not me, but it's still crazy to see as we're talking about with your audience, when sometimes you can have the food, you can have the business acumen, but sometimes you just need luck. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
use an example. I told you there's another person I know, an acquaintance who has a business that's right near where I live. And what he did was he had a food truck. He then turned it into a fleet of 5 trucks, and he was doing okay, but he wasn't really making as much money as he wanted to. But
Hmm.
he needed a location so that he could do it. He could sell commercially. So what he did was he found a location. It was an old Chinese food restaurant here by me. He found that and he opened it up, and it was doing okay, but it's still people weren't coming to the location. Well, as it turns out, there was a Popeyes that's literally walking distance from it, and it was during the time when they first introduced their chicken sandwich, which caused the chicken sandwich wars a couple of
Yeah, I
years
remember
ago.
that. Yeah, yeah,
It just so happened that this guy sells chicken, and he had a Nashville chicken sandwich So when people couldn't get into Popeyes, or when Popeyes didn't have sandwiches, they started coming to him. And then people went on social media and said, hey, his chicken sandwich is way better than the Popeye sandwich. So he's now blown them out of the water locally. And people, I can't even it's in my neighborhood. I can't even get in there to get a sandwich half the time because he's expanded his hours. And now with COVID, people are waiting in the parking lot. They've got a tent set up. They learned to pivot and they've learned to adjust. So I'm happy to see how he was able to take the business and roll with it. And like I said, he took what was a national phenomenon and he applied his product and managed to make that work for him.
Oh, that's nice right there. That's nice. Man, that's big time right there. Yeah, so I also wanted to let you know, man, like whoever it is that you're trying to promote or whatever, like please feel free whenever we get done with this conversation to shoot me the links and everything to all of those people or whatever, so we can kind of get like some back and forth between the conversation that we're having and kind of promote them and stuff like that. And you can give your shout outs and everything to whoever it is that you're trying to do that for and promote them as well. I mean, because like I said, like this whole thing right here is about helping people to help other people to help other people and continue to try to build on entrepreneurship and everything like that. So like the ideas are always there and stuff like that. Like I know dozens of people who have the ideas, but again, they just don't go anywhere with it because they don't know who to ask or where to start. So again, that's where I got this whole idea to start, FAQ or frequently asked questions is just, asking these questions and everything like that and just trying to, snowball everything into something else. So all of the people that you got in your loop or whatever, if you want to send me their links or whatever, whenever I upload this video, I'll be sure to tag them and stuff like that. And then, we can keep that going and everything like that. That's what this is all about. So
absolutely.
Yes, that's what's up.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Like I said, again, you caught me off guard on a Sunday morning. And I'm like, I'm still trying to shake off the Tyson fight and trying to figure out my plan of attack for
What you need to be worried about, is them Giants. I wasn't gonna say anything.
And see, since you want to go there, because I left you alone, but we swept your Washington football
team. We the best
team.
in the division right now, though. I ain't trying to nothing you gotta say.
Put it like this. It's going to be the booby prize because anybody for the NFC East, we should all be fighting for the draft pick. So as far as it goes, the Cowboys, well, that was a laugh after Thanksgiving, after the massacre. The Eagles, they're injured, so they're not doing anything. And then I really think it comes down between us and y'all. But the whole thing is that I think there's only a couple of division games left. I know today we play the Bengals at 1 p.m. And I think we got the Bengals, and then we have the Seahawks, which of course I think we're going out to Seattle. I don't think they're coming to the East Coast. But either way, I think I like the new coach. I was hurting after we lost Saquon, but I see some promise. It's just a matter of what it's going to look like for this. I'm going forward for it. So it's they're making the best of a bad situation because at one point I was just like chuck the whole thing out, but I still think we're going to be competitive. But that's only because of how bad the division is.
Well, I mean, for us, we have just the Eagles left. We played the Giants twice. Y'all beat us. Right. We played the Cowboys twice. We beat them. Played the Eagles once. We beat them. So we got them. As a matter of fact, the last game of the season. But our road is kind of tough to get it. We got Pittsburgh next week, but they're going to be coming off of a short week themselves because their game was moved to Tuesday. So
if they get to play that game.
Well, yeah. Hopefully they do. They go in there against Baltimore and they beat each other up, and then we take over the scraps and kind of, catch them off guard or whatever. But As far as division games go, the Eagles are the only game we got left, and that's the last game of the season. But we still got Pittsburgh, we still got Baltimore, and Philly. The last game of the season, I can't remember like the last game or two, whoever's in that other little bit right there. But we got a tough road, but our defense has been stout the entire season. A lot of people would say like the defense has been bad, but when you got an offense who, you know, like the best quarterback output was, barely over 300 yards, and that was by Haskins in the loss to I can't even remember who it was earlier on in the season, but it was in a losing effort, and he threw for over 300 yards, but it didn't amount to anything. And that was probably like we were playing from behind, probably in that game or whatever. And the last game that we won against Dallas, I mean, Smith barely threw for 150 yards, and like everything was on the ground, and plays came from the defense, getting the ball on the short side of the field because the Cowboys went for it a couple of times on their own side, so kind of capitalize on that. But I mean, if we're going to make this push, we're going to have to get some better production from the offense, and it's something we haven't been doing all season. So I don't know. I mean, I was ecstatic that we beat the Cowboys, you know what I'm saying? So that made my Thanksgiving so much better, you know what I mean? But
So I gotta ask you this:
go
how
ahead.
did you become a Washington fan?
My mom's side of the family, all of the Gardners and everything, we're all from South Carolina, but my dad's side of the family, they're from DC. So
Oh,
Wardolph, Wardolph, Fort Washington, that area. So
mhm.
I spent a whole lot of my summers up there with my DC fam. So what up to the DC area, or the southeastern Maryland portion of the area. But yeah, I spent a lot of my summers and stuff up there and everything, hanging out with the fam, and like they had all like the Gamecocks flag I got behind me. I had a name that can't be mentioned flag to go with it. So it was the Gamecocks flag, and then it was the other one like right there beside it. But when the name changed, I took it down or whatever and everything like that. But yeah, they had all that stuff in their house, man. I mean the hats and the shirts, and that's when Darryl Green was big hot, and my uncle had the jerseys and all of that other stuff, man. So like it just kind of just trickled down to me, and I just I ran with it, and I stayed with it through all, and that was me at like the last Super Bowl they won was like 91, 90, 92 or whatever the fuck it was. And like after that it was like all losing seasons, and I stayed with it, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like, just embedded in me, and you know what I'm saying, and I kind of just grew up with it. So like all of the pain and everything that all of the other fans and everything feel, uh, I feel it. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this: they've been loyal. It's been an adjustment this year. Everybody catches themselves not wanting to say that name that is no longer mentioned. I
mm,
still see some people wearing the gear begrudgingly. They're like, "Nah, we're not giving this up. I paid too much money for it."
yeah.
But the key thing is going to be when they finally let loose with the new name next season, and how they handle that. That's going to be a big deal for the image of the team. Because right now, I'm gonna admit, a lot of us are having fun with y'all because we don't call it they say the WFT for the Washington football team, but we switch the letters around and be the WTF and go with that.
Hey.
So I've got my own little loop and group of friends, and we go back and forth. But I will say that guy you got, Chase Young, is a beast.
Mhm.
Haskins, he wanted to come to the Giants, and at that point, we thought he was. I mean, we went with Brown, but it was like Jones, but it was like you went with this, and this was not. We didn't have to do it as a first round pick.
Mhm.
He would have been there in the third round or something like that.
Yeah.
Haskins he all but took out an ad that he wanted to play for the Giants, and again, Well, we could get into the topic, but I feel like the Giants are not as, let's say, they're not as savvy with the times. They're not ready to give opportunities as much as I think they should to people of color
I
in
know
that
where you,
position.
I
And
know where
that's
you're
all it
going
comes
with
down
that.
to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, just to keep on that, like I don't remember ever seeing anybody back there like that. I think that who you probably know better than I do, but there was one guy that they had, but he was a backup and he got to play some snaps because somebody got hurt. What was his name? Do you remember?
Yeah. I cannot remember his name, but he was in
See,
for a season and a half, and that was it. And the whole thing is, again, I hate to say it, I think the team just was not open to the idea of,
mhm,
or I think somebody in the front office was worried about what the fans were going to think if they were giving opportunities to people of color. But I think the league is starting to change now, and
right.
I think a lot of these dinosaurs are going to have to change with it.
They're gonna have
Because
to.
your
I
owner was
mean,
a perfect example. He swore he would never change that name, but when they pulled
right.
all that stuff off the shelves, and they just said, we're going to force you into this, that we're going to a new time and age
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, well, he's never been shy about having a black quarterback. I mean, oops, it's out the bag of what we're talking about and everything. But I mean, we've had Jason Campbell. He went high on RG3 and made some big moves to get him, and he even made it a I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but he made it a thing to get Haskins. So like he dove deep into those guys or whatever that he thought would be the guys for the future and everything like that. It just never really panned out. So I mean, but the thing is, like, for us, I always feel like drafting a quarterback high has been we're not, we've been in the rebuild phase forever, and we aren't able to do it successfully because everything starts up front. And I've always said, like, even on social media, you go to my social media and you see me say, like, we need an offensive line, we need an offensive line, we need an offensive line. And the other team in our division that won down in Texas, they did that a couple of years ago, and they had a really good offensive line, and they got a really good running back in the draft after that, and Zeke. And that's how Dak was able to come into the fold or whatever with his stuff that he came into. But yeah, I mean, we haven't done that. We always went out. We went to skills players. We got Josh Doxson, most notably, wide receiver from TCU back in 2000. I think that was the 2016 draft, the same draft that you guys got Zeke and Dak. And then the year after that, we got Sheriff, early first round or whatever. But after that, like, that's been the other skills players that haven't stuck around to like really grow. But I've always said, like, we need to build up front, and then we had Trent Williams. Like, he wasn't happy with being with the
Mm-hmm.
team or whatever. He's like our best tackle or whatever, but you just got like one good, offensive lineman, and then like everybody else across the board is just whack. Like, that's not an offensive line or whatever. Like, you can protect the blind side, but like teams just going to shift to the other side or whatever and just continue to pound in and everything and get to the quarterback. So like our quarterbacks haven't really stood the test of time just because we haven't built a front in front of them. And I'm hoping that that's what happens, here soon or whatever with this. I think Alex Smith is a good bridge, to gap that little bit of time, get one more good season out of him because he's still in the contract for big money. So like cutting him or him, just opting out and retiring, is not really an option or whatever because that money still goes to him. You know what I mean? Because of the way that he structured his contract. So him playing one more season, maybe going out there next season, drafting a couple of offensive linemen, and then coming back the following season and just saying who's, you know, hopefully we don't fall into the situation where we still end up getting a low draft pick, moving up and mid teens, 20s or whatever, and say we're going to take this quarterback that's the best quarterback that's available on the board in this position, and hopefully he'll grow the team.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I don't know what. There's two things I'll say with Smith. He's getting better, but I think he took when he came back, he just wanted to prove he could come back. And then when the other quarterback went down, I don't think he planned on it being the starter. And so if you look at a couple of those plays, you could see that he was looking because after you have an injury, you suffer an injury like he suffered, you're going to naturally go to your instincts to protect yourself. So
Right.
I think that he is actually taking, you could see when he was showing hesitancy and holding on to that ball because he didn't want anything to happen. But I've seen that he's looking better with each week. And I don't know what he did to the team, but whatever Haskins did, they don't want anything to do with him. They will not. It's ugly. It's like they are not planning on. They might as well deal him because they're not planning on playing him unless absolutely necessary. And whatever he did, he pissed off the team. He pissed off Rivera, and the fans are now everybody's turned on him. So
It's the whole RG3 effect all over again. Well, RG3's second season, like that whole little off season that he had, and I definitely feel that. I mean, like I don't know. I'm like you, like I don't know. Like I thought I was like hyped for for them to put him in the game or whatever. Even when Gruden was there, I was like, what the And I was not a big fan of Gruden. I thought he stayed a couple of seasons too long. And you can see the production of the team go down, especially when McVay was the last coordinator that we had that really was like, especially on the offensive side, that really showed production in that offense. Like his play designs and play calls and everything like that had everybody, being productive. I mean, that was the last year that Deshaun Jackson went over 1,000 yards, and then we also had Pierre Garcon. He went over 1,000 yards, and then Jamison Crowder, he missed 1,000-yard season by, I want to say it was less than 20 yards. You know what I mean? So we had three receivers in that 1,000-yard area. That was Kirk Cousins, probably his best productive season as a quarterback, yards wise and everything like that. And that was Sean McVay's last season. And then like after that, Gruden was still there, but Deshaun Jackson was gone. Garcon went out to San Francisco. Crowder was there, but he got hurt. And then the next season he went up to the Jets. And then after that, I think that was the season that was Kurt's last season in Washington. And then after that, he went to the Vikings. So like we were just non-productive in those years after McVay left and Gruden was left to be the offensive guy. So, I mean, the team hasn't been productive on the offensive side of the ball since, not with like the play schemes or any of the designs and everything. It's always been like a same runs, same plays that everybody does, A gap, B gap, quick screens, maybe a little bit of a play action and throw the ball down the field, but nothing, witty, with the designs of the plays and stuff like that, which has always been like a thing to me. But I think one of our teams is going to win this division,
get
man.
up there. I think it's between the two of us. We're going to see. So I've got to get in here now and get my daughter ready for breakfast here. So I'm going to bounce off, but you just let me know how everything goes. I can shoot some links to you, like you said. And if there's anything else, that questions or something that comes up that I can help somebody else out with, please be sure to send them my way, just so I can help point them out in the right direction.
All right, fam. I appreciate it. Like I said, that's what this show is all about and everything. So we're just trying to get, people in the right positions and everything to be successful and everything, because like even for me, like when I started, my clothing line and everything, there's very few people that helped me out. And then I had to like figure my stuff out along the way. But ultimately, I did come across the right people. So now I want to give that back. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I
Right.
can, give that back. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just trying to dig back deep and not just say, hey, like, there's a success in clothing and stuff like that. There's restaurants, like I said, I got my photographers, Chris, Chris Sharp, and down in Atlanta and everything. And then a couple other photographers that I know. We did a group chat the other day, and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do a little bit of everybody, and just trying to get all of this information out there, man. And hopefully that people will eat it up and take it in or whatever, and use that to build their own success and everything, man. So again, like, I wholeheartedly, man, appreciate you taking the time out to talk to a
Not a
Washington
problem.
fan and
Well,
share your knowledge
we
and
go, like I
everything.
said, my
But
pleasure, man. Anytime I can help out, I will. So, but
I
either way,
appreciate.
we'll keep it going and stay safe here in the COVID, and you stay safe out the country.
I'm
You come
trying
back
to,
in.
man. I'm trying to, man. But yeah, I'll be. You'll see me on the online or whatever, on the Facebook or whatever. I'll be talking trash to you,
All
and all
right.
that stuff, man. So, like I said, man, I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me, man. Go ahead and do what you got to do for the day, and
Okay.
yeah, shoot me those links and everything, man. And whenever I get everything up and
Okay.
running, I'll make sure I tag you in it and everything, and then you can make your adjustments to go behind people and answer any questions that they might have on the YouTube channel and stuff like that, man.
Okay. Sounds good, Q. All
All right,
right, man.
fam.
Take care, brother. Stay blessed.
I
All right.
appreciate it. You too, dog.
Okay.